Hello, Tony Hines here. You're listening to the Chain Reaction podcast, all about supply chain advantage. Well, special episode today if you're on a course, an MBA student, or maybe you just like supply chains and you're a consultant, or even for people in the C-suite. You might find my supply chain strategies book interesting, and I came across a review of the book, and I've shared it with you in this particular episode. Yeah, I know, it's a little self-indulgent, but I'm sure you won't want to miss it if you're interested in supply chains. So have a listen, see what you think, and if you like the book, go and get a copy. And I'd also like to hear from anybody who's read the book, using the book on their course, or in fact, any professors or lecturers, trainers, anybody out there that's used the book. If you'd like to give a review of the book, then I might be able to share something else with you. So let me know. Get back in touch. Be great to hear from you. Anyway, enjoy the episode.
All right, so you're deep in your MBA and you really want to nail those supply chain strategies. And then you find this book. It's like, bam, a secret weapon. That's what today's deep dive is all about, a sneak peek. At Supply Chain Strategies, Demand-Driven and Customer-Focused. It's by Tony Hines. And we found this review. It's got people talking, and we're going to break down why this book could change the game for you in your MBA. And then, of course, your career.
You know what's really interesting about this book? It's how it gets you thinking in a whole new way, which is so important for supply chain strategy, especially at the MBA level.
Oh, so it's not just about, keeping the shelves stocked.
No, not at all. This book takes you way beyond that. It's all about the big picture. That's what sets apart future leaders. Think about it. Understanding supply chain strategy, like really understanding it. It shows you how even little decisions can have a huge impact on a company's profits, customer loyalty, even their place in the global market.
Right, and that's where the customer focus comes in. The review kept saying, this book really focuses on understanding what customers want.
Exactly. It's not just moving products around. It's about delivering value, exceeding expectations. It's about building a supply chain that makes customers go, wow. And this ties directly into marketing and customer relationship management. Both are super important in any MBA program.
Now, I've got to ask about those international case studies. The review mentioned them. How do those work in an MBA?
Case studies, they're like your MBA simulator. They take all those theories from the textbooks and bring them to life. You get to analyze real-world situations. You weigh different solutions, and you really build those problem-solving muscles, which, let's be honest, are super valuable in business.
Yeah, I get that. You can read about a concept, but seeing how it actually worked in a real company with real problems, it's a whole other level of learning.
Speaking of challenges, the review talked about risk management and building resilient supply chains. That's critical these days. Just imagine, you've got this amazing supply chain strategy, everything's perfect, and then, bam, a geopolitical crisis or a natural disaster, a pandemic even, throws everything into chaos. This book prepares you for those moments by diving into risk mitigation strategies.
So it's like having a backup plan, or 2 or 3, being ready for anything.
Exactly. This knowledge is so important for future leaders. It helps you anticipate problems, adapt to disruptions, and make tough decisions, the kind that protect your organization from major setbacks.
Okay, so we've talked about the big picture, customer focus, real-world stuff, and how important risk management is. But what about the tech side? The review mentioned that, and honestly, that's what really got me interested.
It wasn't just a quick mention. This book really dives into the technologies that are shaping supply chains. Cloud computing, big data analytics, AI, even blockchain. Just learning about them, you're learning how to use them to get a real competitive edge.
So you're saying, using AI to predict what people will want, to optimize inventory, maybe even personalize customer experiences. It's not just keeping up with the tech, it's using it strategically to stay ahead.
Exactly. In the world of supply chains, tech fluency, it's not a bonus. It's almost a requirement if you want to lead in this field. But it's not all about algorithms and data. This book also talks about financial smarts, which are needed to make good supply chain decisions.
Right, because any strategy has to make sense financially.
Exactly. This book goes beyond just the operations. It gets into cost analysis, value creation, and ROI, return on investment.
ROI, the language of business leaders everywhere.
It's all about making smart choices, data-driven choices that contribute to a company's financial health. You're not just managing a supply chain, you're becoming a leader, one who understands the numbers, can justify strategies and show their impact on the bottom line.
The review also mentioned something called cross-functional integration. I think our listeners will want to hear about that.
It's something people often miss. We think of supply chains as separate things, but they're actually connected to every part of a company. This book stresses breaking down those walls, getting everyone to collaborate. Marketing, operations, finance, IT, everyone.
So you're not just a supply chain expert, you're a leader who brings people together, builds relationships, gets everyone working together. That's where communication and coordination are so important.
Absolutely. Imagine leading a team, people with different skills, different perspectives. You need to build consensus, handle disagreements, and guide them all towards a shared goal. These are essential skills for anyone in business today, and this book really helps you develop them.
Before we move on, I have to mention those amazing testimonials from MBA students and course leaders. They all seem to agree. This book is a must-read.
You know, one quote really stood out to me. Is from a student who said, "This book finally made them understand how government policies affect supply chains. It gave them a way to analyze and respond to policy changes, which is so important for businesses working globally, where regulations can change quickly and have a big impact on operations."
So it sounds like this book, it's more than just theory. It gives you practical tools, frameworks you can actually use.
Exactly. That's what makes it so relevant, especially for MBA students
Yeah,
who are eager to put their knowledge to work. And it's not just the students.
right. The professors love it too.
There was this quote from a professor who said the book helped their students really get the idea of customer-focused service strategies. It's all about meeting customer needs while managing costs so everyone wins.
And that sounds like a recipe for success.
It does, doesn't it? It shows how comprehensive this book is. It's not just about one aspect of supply chain management. It's about connecting it all together.
You know, I'm starting to wish I was back in my MBA. This sounds like a book that can change how you see things in such a complex and important field.
I can see why. It seems like one of those resources that can make a real difference.
In how you understand supply chain strategy.
Yeah.
And in your career, too.
Absolutely.
Well, we've covered a lot, but there's still so much more in this review. I'm excited to dig deeper.
Yeah, let's unpack some more of these insights.
Stay tuned, everyone. We're just getting started.
So we were talking about all these insights from the book. Let's dig into one area where it really shines: sourcing and procurement strategies.
Okay, now that's where the real action is. Sourcing and procurement can make or break a company. I'm ready to learn. What kind of strategies are we talking about here?
The book explores a whole range of them: global sourcing, local sourcing, outsourcing, insourcing, everything. It looks at the factors that drive those decisions: cost, of course, quality, risk, and even ethical and sustainability considerations, which are becoming more and more important.
So it's not just about finding the cheapest option. There's a whole strategic element to it.
Exactly. That's what makes this book so valuable. It gives you the knowledge to make informed decisions about sourcing. You weigh the pros and cons and make sure your choices line up with the company's goals.
It's about seeing the bigger picture, not just focusing on saving money right now, but thinking about the long-term impact on the business and everyone involved.
Absolutely. And the book goes even further. It also talks about developing customer-focused service strategies.
Now that's what I'm really interested in, because a successful supply chain is all about making the customer happy, right?
Absolutely. This book provides the tools and frameworks for designing supply chains that meet customer needs efficiently, effectively, and without spending too much money. It's about finding the sweet spot where everyone wins.
Finding that perfect balance, meeting expectations, but not breaking the bank. We've talked a lot about what's in the book. But is it all just theory? Or does it give practical advice that people can actually use?
From what I've seen in the review, it goes way beyond theory. It uses those real-world case studies to show how these concepts work in real companies.
That's what I like about case studies. They bridge the gap between theory and practice. You get to put yourself in the shoes of a decision maker.
And then there are those testimonials from students and professors who rave about this book. It's not often you find a textbook that everyone loves.
It sounds like this book has really hit a nerve, offering a new perspective on a field that's constantly changing.
Exactly. It's not just about giving information. It's about sparking a deeper understanding, maybe even a passion for supply chain management.
Speaking of passion, the review mentioned the book's focus on technology. We touched on it earlier, but I'd love to explore it more.
Of course. This book doesn't just mention technology. It really gets into how advancements like cloud computing, big data, AI, and blockchain are changing the whole supply chain landscape.
So it's not just about knowing the buzzwords, it's about understanding how to use these technologies to solve problems, create efficiencies, and give companies a competitive advantage.
Exactly. For example, the book talks about how AI and machine learning can be used for demand forecasting. Companies can anticipate what customers will want and optimize their inventory. It also talks about how blockchain can make the supply chain more transparent. Businesses can track products from start to finish to ensure authenticity and ethical sourcing.
That's amazing. It sounds like this book is helping people connect the dots between new technology and real-world applications in the supply chain.
And that's just the beginning. The book also talks about how to integrate these technologies with existing systems and processes to make them more efficient and adaptable to change.
So it's not just about adopting the latest tech for the sake of it. It's about using it strategically to create real value for the business.
Exactly. Technology is a tool, and like any tool, it needs to be used skillfully to achieve the desired results.
Now let's shift gears a bit. The review also mentioned the financial side of supply chain management. We know every business decision has financial implications, but how does this book approach that?
This book doesn't shy away from the numbers. It goes into the financial analysis of supply chain decisions, exploring concepts like cost analysis, value creation, and that all-important return on investment, or ROI.
ROI, the magic words that get every executive's attention.
Exactly. And it's not just about calculating ROI, it's about understanding what drives it. The book provides frameworks and tools for evaluating different supply chain strategies, assessing their financial viability, and making decisions based on data, decisions that help the company's bottom line.
It's about being able to speak the language of business, to explain the financial impact of your supply chain decisions.
Absolutely. And this financial understanding
Yes.
is what separates those who just manage supply chains from those who lead them strategically. Now, before we move on, I want to touch on something really important: cross-functional integration.
Okay, I'm listening. What's the big deal about that in supply chain management?
We often think of supply chains as separate things, but they're actually connected to every part of a company. This book emphasizes breaking down those silos and fostering collaboration between different departments, like marketing, operations, finance, IT, everyone.
It's like an orchestra. Each section plays its part, but the conductor brings it all together.
That's a great analogy. And the supply chain leader is the conductor, orchestrating everything: information, resources, decisions across the entire organization.
So it's not just about being a supply chain expert, it's about being a leader who can bring people together, build relationships, and get everyone working towards the same goal.
Exactly. The book highlights the importance of building consensus, navigating conflict, and leading diverse teams. These are essential skills for success in today's complex business world.
It sounds like this book is giving people a holistic view of supply chain management. It goes beyond the technical stuff and embraces the human element.
That's what makes it so interesting. It's not just about moving products around. It's about understanding the whole web of relationships, processes, and decisions that make a supply chain successful.
Before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, what do you think is the most valuable takeaway from this book?
That's a great question. I think what really stands out is the emphasis on strategic thinking. This book doesn't just give you tools and techniques. It encourages you to think critically about the big picture, to anticipate challenges, and to find solutions that align with the company's goals. It's about going beyond the day-to-day tasks and developing a strategic mindset.
That's a powerful message, and I think it will resonate with our listeners who are on their MBA journeys. It's about developing that strategic lens that allows you to not only manage supply chains, but to truly lead them.
Absolutely. That's what makes this book different. It's not just about giving you knowledge. It's about helping you develop those critical thinking skills and problem-solving skills that are essential for success in supply chain management.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground, but there's still more to explore. I can't wait to see what other insights this book has to offer.
Let's continue our deep dive and see what other gems we can uncover.
Stay tuned, everyone. We're about to uncover even more valuable insights from this book. Insights that could change your whole approach to supply chain management. As we've been talking about this book, I've been thinking, these supply chain ideas, they go way beyond just business.
Oh, that's interesting. What are you thinking about?
Like healthcare, getting medical supplies where they need to be, to hospitals and clinics on time. Isn't that a supply chain challenge with really high stakes?
You're right. It's a perfect example of how these principles matter in critical situations, life-saving situations even. The supply chain, how efficient it is, how resilient it is. It can literally determine whether people get treatment in time.
And it's not just healthcare. What about disaster relief? When there's a natural disaster, getting food and water to people, shelter, medical aid, that has to happen fast.
Exactly. Effective disaster response depends on the supply chain. Being able to mobilize resources, handle logistics, overcome obstacles, to get aid where it's needed most.
It's like we don't even think about supply chains until something goes wrong. Then we realize how important they are for everything.
It's true. Supply chains are the unsung heroes. They keep things running smoothly. But their impact is huge, from keeping grocery stores stocked to delivering vaccines to remote communities.
So understanding supply chains, it's not just for business leaders, it's for anyone who wants to make a difference.
Absolutely. These concepts can be used to solve all sorts of problems, like urban planning, making sure a city has enough food, water, energy, transportation. All of that depends on good supply chains.
Wow, I never thought about it that way. The more I learn about supply chains, the more I see them everywhere.
It's a field with a huge impact, and I think this book does a great job of highlighting the ethical and sustainable side of things.
That's so important. It's not just about efficiency and profits. It's about making sure supply chains are responsible and benefit everyone involved.
Exactly. It's about thinking about the environment, fair labor practices, transparency.
So for our listeners, whether you're in an MBA program or just interested in this topic, the challenge is to start seeing supply chains everywhere.
And to think about how they can be better, not just for profit, but for everyone. How can we use these ideas to create systems that are fair, sustainable, resilient, systems that benefit businesses and society?
That's a great point to end on. It reminds us that supply chain management, it's not just technical. It's a chance to make a real difference.
Well said. It's about using what we know to create positive change and build a better future.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into supply chain strategies, demand-driven and customer-focused by Tony Hines. We hope you learned something new and that you're inspired to explore the amazing world of supply chain management.
Until next time, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep pushing the limits of what's possible.
Well, that's it for this episode. I hope you've enjoyed the episode. I hope you liked the review of the Supply Chain Strategies book, Demand-Driven and Customer-Focused. And if you did, well, go and get a copy. If you're a professor or a course leader, then you might want to take a look at it for your course and maybe recommend it on a reading list. And, of course, if you're a student or just an interested person who wants to find out more about supply chains, I'm sure you may want to read it too. So that's it for this episode, and I'll see you again in the Chain Reaction podcast next time. In the meantime, take a look at all the new episodes coming your way, and don't forget, you can subscribe and be first to know when a new episode is out, and then you can listen first. I'm Tony Hines, I'm signing off. I'll see you next time in the Chain Reaction podcast, all about supply chain advantage. Take care, thanks for listening, bye for now. Hi, I'm Tony Hines. I'm here to tell you about the Chain Reaction podcast, all about supply chain advantage. I've been researching and writing about supply chains for over 25 years. I wrote my first book on supply chain strategies in the early 2000s. Each week we have special episodes on particular topics relating to supply chains, and we have a weekly news roundup every Saturday at 12 noon, all things impacting global supply chains in that week. So come and join us on the Chain Reaction podcast. I look forward to seeing you there. I'm Tony Hines. I'm signing off. Bye for now.